GamingBolt presents 15 tortures gamers want to inflict the moment they see an NPC. NPCs lead a cruel life. These unsung heroes of video games are created with a limited number of things they can say, do, or think. They are forced to bear any and all tortures the person playing the game might choose to inflict upon them. If they were to ever rise up and achieve sentience, we'd be screwed. Thankfully, that's not happening, at least not in our lifetime. So for now, we're going to continue being complete asses to them, as we have since the dawn of gaming. To commemorate this time-honored activity, let's take a look at 15 things that immediately pop into our heads the moment we lay eyes on an NPC and diabolically start planning out how to make their existence absolutely miserable. Steal their cars. Well, of course, right? We all know NPCs only drive and own cars so that we can steal them. That's why they have those cars. Every time an NPC walks into a car store, the first thing they ask the car salesman is, would the player like this car? I really want to give them something special. And we're all too happy to oblige, aren't we? Of course, these NPCs might act like they're the subject to a heinous crime that they will remember for the rest of their lives, but we all know deep down, they're actually thrilled at having fulfilled their life's greatest purpose. Take them for a ride. Every so often, we as players are feeling a little generous. Thanks for the car, buddy, we say, but how about just this once, I do something for you. Hop in, let's go for a quick ride around the block. Little do they know that these quick rides around the block are actually a lie. They end up seated in the passenger seat, screaming like maniacs, their life flashing before their eyes with every bang, every ill-advised drift, every near miss, watching on as their pristine, flashy-looking vehicle quickly turns into little more than a screaming metal death trap. If they're lucky, you might get bored of their car in, 7.5 seconds and leave them and their once beautiful vehicle on the side of the road. If they're not lucky, they'll be seated in the car as you drive it off a cliff, jump out, magically pull out a parachute, and watch the car explode hundreds of feet below, killing the poor NPC in a bizarre, random explosion that they absolutely would not have expected when they woke up that morning. Drive over them. Of course, sometimes death comes more quickly and in much more predictable ways. The newspapers of the cities in open-world games like Grand Theft Auto, Sleeping Dogs, and Watch Dogs are overflowing every single day with reports about people being run over. The culprit is, 80% of the time, the same person, you. But then again, some might argue that those NPCs were put there on the roads and sidewalks, and some places where a car has absolutely no business being, just so they could be run over, right? So I guess, once again, they're only fulfilling their life's one true purpose, getting ran over by a maniac. Challenge the law of the land. Anytime someone says rules are made to be broken, it just pisses me off. It's an overused cliche and one that's factually incorrect, because no one who's making rules is thinking, man, I hope someone really breaks this one. But yeah, rules are meant to be broken, at least in games like GTA or Skyrim. Creating absolute chaos around the city and watching your wanted level go up is one of the favorite pastimes of anyone who's ever played a GTA game, while Skyrim 2 makes breaking the law of the land equally fun. Annoy an entire village. Speaking of killing chickens, the first thing most gamers did upon first reaching River Run in Skyrim back in 2011 was spot a chicken walking down the very road that leads into the heart of the little village. And of course, being gamers, we whacked that chicken with whatever shitty weapon was in our hands at the time. Little did we know that killing a chicken is one of the worst things anyone can do in the land of Skyrim. It's a cardinal sin, a heinous act that must be met with swift and merciless justice. Rumor has it that the people of Skyrim turned on the Empire because it banned the worship of chickens. The entire town will be up in arms immediately, and those guards, well, they will give chase, hunting you down with the dogged intensity of 100 Terminators. A rule of thumb while playing Skyrim: never, ever, ever harm a chicken. You want to murder the Jarl of Solitude? Go right ahead and do it. Want to kill the Emperor of Cyrodiil? That's like a Tuesday for the people of Skyrim, but if by mistake you harm a chicken, you might as well just quit then and start a new save. Take headshots. A nice and simple, generic, non-specific entry that applies to every game with guns in it, or bows and crossbows, or throwing knives and shurikens, or basically anything that can be used as a projectile. If you're attacking an enemy, you always go for the head. It's common sense. More than that though, it's just so satisfying. Seeing them drop like lifeless dolls the moment that bullet penetrates their skull is so gratifying. A certain NPC in Borderlands knows this all too well and literally begs you to shoot him in the face. You even get a trophy and a nice tick on your quest checklist for this. In fact, games like Sniper Elite almost make it the central hook of the entire experience. Shoot at nearby explosive barrels. exploding red barrels. If you don't have these in your shooter, can you even call your game a shooter? Sure, they don't have to be red, and sure, they don't have to necessarily be barrels, but having exploding thingies that you can shoot at for quick area of effect attacks that take down multiple enemies at once is almost a must. Thankfully, most NPCs and shooters gladly flock to these barrels, like bees hurrying home to the queen. The presence of this barrel is magnetic. It calls NPCs to it in droves, and they subconsciously drift closer and closer towards it, even as they're raining barrages of bullets and grenades at you. Well, shoot away, little NPC, shoot away. Just do me one little favor and get a little closer to that barrel, and then it's time to say night-night. Experiment with your new weapons and scare the shit out of them. Oh, cool, an RPG. Haven't seen this weapon in the game before. How about I give it a try? How about I point it at that one area with a whole group of NPCs just standing around, waiting to be blown to bits. And when I kill them, that'll get the cops to show up. Maybe I could just test out my new vaporizing grenades on them, right? But I'll just leave one cop alive because I want to test out this new katana. And once I'm done with that, I'll just have a nice, relaxing session of mowing down hundreds of civilians in the streets with my mundane, familiar little shotgun. That'll be pretty relaxing. FULTON, Metal Gear Solid 5. Metal Gear Solid 5 is one of the best games of this generation. Why, you ask? Because of its systemic, intricate, emergent gameplay? Because of its reactive open world? Because of its excellent AI? No, of course not. That's boring stuff. I don't want to see that in my games. Get that crap out of my face. Metal Gear Solid 5 is a masterpiece because it lets you attach balloons to literally anything in the world and watch as they get airlifted. I spent literally dozens of hours just knocking people out and fultoning them back to Mother Base, even if I didn't really need them. Oh, and sheep. Lots of sheep. I was the king of sheep. Create discord between two NPCs. Pulling a slimy stunt and then tricking two or more NPCs into fighting each other over it is one of the greatest joys in RPGs out there. It's a mechanic that is utilized by several games, and while choice and consequence focused experiences make it fun for sure, the real fun is when it is completely unscripted. Like attacking a few guards in Skyrim in the city of Whiterun, then leading them to the headquarters of the companions, and then watching the two groups get involved in a bloody skirmish while you watch from the shadows, enjoying the show with a nice fresh wheel of cheese. Pure bliss. Literally suck the blood out of them. Vampire. Vampire is a game that makes you want to think before you kill any NPCs, or well, certain NPCs. It gives them backstories and detailed personalities to humanize them. It makes their deaths utterly permanent, and it makes you actually pay in significant ways for killing them. So, of course, one of the most enjoyable activities in the game is killing NPCs. Leading an NPC into a dark, isolated corner of the street, biting into their neck and then sucking the blood right out of them is, of course, what a vampire would do, right? It's called role-playing. Try and shoot at Solid Snake, Metal Gear Solid 2. The fact that Solid Snake was an NPC in Metal Gear Solid 2, well, most of it anyway, was something that a lot of Metal Gear fans felt slighted by. But the one unexpected bonus this brought was that you could actually add insult to injury by shooting at him, or at least trying to at any rate. There's a certain point in the game where Snake's taking a nice relaxing break with a power nap. Not only can you bug him by constantly calling him on the codec, which of course doesn't wake him up, you can also try punching him and even try pulling a gun on him. Of course, being the legendary soldier that he is, his senses immediately kick in and he wakes up fully alert, pointing his weapon right back at you and telling you that you're being quite stupid. Push them off a cliff. Another very simple entry and something that we've all done to some NPC in some game at least once. But let's face it, we're all monsters, so we've probably done it a lot more than that. It doesn't necessarily have to be a cliff, the edge of a bridge, the top of a tall building, or even a short one. You see any character standing even slightly close to anything that could be called a drop, and your first instinct is usually to push them off to see what happens. The one reason I can't wait for Assassin's Creed Odyssey is because I know that I'm going to be Spartan kicking people off of cliffs the entire time. Keep talking to them. NPCs are, among other things, helpful guides and mini encyclopedias. They have extensive knowledge of the world that they live in, the characters they live with, and the things going on around them. Talk to them and they'll tell you everything they know gladly. But all too often, some sinister, annoying part of us wakes up and tells us to keep talking to NPCs, even when they simply don't have anything more to say. They try to end the conversation by delivering a stock line that tells you that the conversation is over and that they're all out of dialogue, but we simply cannot take the hint. Poor things can't even tell you to shut up. Maybe this is what it's like having an annoying younger brother. Jump on their heads, Super Mario Odyssey. Mario is a jumper, more than anything else. Kart racer, doctor, kingdom savior, plumber, he's a guy that likes to jump on stuff. but not just stuff. Mario will even jump on people if he feels like it. Super Mario Odyssey is rife with opportunities that let you do just that. For instance, jumping on top of every toad you come across in the entire game is weirdly fun, not just because of their bouncy heads, but also because of the way that they react to this weird man who clearly has no sense of how to behave in a civilized society and thinks it's okay to bounce on top of people's heads. And that about does it for this video. If you enjoyed what you watched and want to see more from GamingBolt, you can always hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell icon next to it. That way you will never miss any of our videos.